Okay, cool. We're live. Hey, Alex, how are you?
Very good. Thank you very much, Jamie. What about you?
Good, good. We will. No, I'm very excited for this. We'll give people a couple minutes to start rolling in here.
Absolutely.
See, Sierra, if you're there, will you just send me a message to make sure audio and video stuff is good while we let people join? Cool. I think we're good. Cool. Really excited to kick off this webinar with you, Alex. So just a couple quick housekeeping items for folks who are registered and attending. We will take questions, lots of questions. So we can do some of those kind of throughout the course of the webinar. We can save others for after Alex's presentation. Feel free to use the chat. One slightly confusing thing about AirMeet is that there's a Q&A and a chat. Honestly, the chat's just easier. So let's just use that. Although I'll be keeping an eye on both in case the interface is confusing for anyone. We will obviously be emailing out the recording, so anyone who registered will get access to that first. We'll do that. If not today, it'll be first thing tomorrow. And yeah, I think that's it. Would love for people who are joining up, send us a note in the chat now. Tell us where you're calling in from. Love to see. Usually we have people coming in from all over the world, which is super cool. And I think with that, Alex, I will hand it over to you. So we'll be talking about link building today. I'll let you share a little more context on that and introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Jamie, for having me today. I'm thrilled to present in front of SuperPass audience. I know how awesome you are, guys, because I'm also part of the Slack community. And, I had a pleasure to exchange messages with some of you. So, well, one more time, my name is Alex Wright, and I'm the founder of Digital Olympus. We are a link building agency, but today I want to talk about something that is most probably between off-page and on-page SEO. So let me share my deck straight away.
Cool.
Just 1 second. Okay, here you go. Just want to make sure that it's in the full mode, right? It's okay, right, Jimmy?
Yes, yeah, looks good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so today I want to discuss a quite important topic, I think. As I've already mentioned, it's something between content, right, and links, because the main question, right, that we almost probably have is how to choose the right pages to build links to, right? And over the past 6 years, we have built nearly, I think, 15,000 links. I've recently checked it because we basically have our internal tool where we count everything. And I've noticed, right, something quite interesting, that the significant, I would say, number of pages with which we've been working with, they haven't shown positive results despite our efforts, right? I have to share that we don't really choose the pages, right, that we are working with, that is on the client side, right? Just because we are link building agents, right? So we don't really know our client's business inside out, right? We don't really know their business goals, right? What kind of pages are the most prominent for them, and so on. But despite that, right, while obviously it's the client's responsibility to choose the right pages, we still strive to ensure, and that is what we are kind of currently also actively promoting across our clients, right? So our main goal is to make sure that we are building links to the pages, right, that can show enough traction, right, so that can actually grow in their organic traffic, right, and react positively on links. Interestingly, after analyzing multiple campaigns, right, going through different data sets, looking at different clients across various regions, because it's good to mention that we have clients from the B2C verticals, right, like coming from travel niche, for instance, from home improvement, real estate. And also we have a lot of clients from the B2B niches like finance, right? Like digital marketing, like sales, and so on. And after we basically looked, right, at all those campaigns, at their pages, and for sure this page's performance, we noted that only a small percentage of pages have shown positive reaction to links. What's intriguing, right, is that none of these pages were poorly written at first glance. And this reminds me, I'm moving to the Netherlands, and I'm really excited about this. And this reminds me of my recent house hunting experience in the Netherlands. So the houses I saw looked extremely cute, promising. You can take a look at them, right? So they are all kind of whoa. And this one is also very nice, right? But upon closing citation, I would say the internet fell short of expectations. As you can see, what is that? Gosh, and so on and so forth, right? And similarly, basically, there are some similarities, right, between those houses and content pages, right? We've been looking at analyzing, just because on paper, right, everything looks good, but when you start to look into more details, it's not really basically the pages or the houses, right, you'd been expecting to see, and you'd been expecting to work with when it comes to reaching the desired results. And here is a really good example of such a page, right? It's on our blog, and it's a well-written content, right? Sharing link building statistics, right? Well, it's not really super in-depth, right? Because it's basically a combination of it's a listicle post, right? But it's quite well-written one. And if you're familiar with ClearScope, right? That is the tool we also use to optimize our own content, and we recommend this tool to our clients. It gives a very decent content grade, right? As you can see, it has enough words. It's basically, having the right structure and so on. But here's how the traffic trend looks like. By the way, this for sure happened after the recent Google Core update, right? But still, this page is basically no longer competitive enough, right? Google doesn't like this page, and so upon closer examination, we discovered that Google doesn't view this page as a good enough one, right, to outrank the current competition in search, to give it more visibility, and so on. The key takeaway for me here is that appearances, right, what we see at first glance is not necessarily what Google wants, right, and what we want, right, either as users, if we are looking for someone observation, or either if we are looking for a new house, right, and basically it's essential, right, to go beyond the surface when choosing pages for link building. And if you go with the wrong set of pages, the main problem that will be the biggest waste of time and money, just because you're going to close not only the link gap that those pages have, right? Obviously, if you have a page that doesn't rank well, then most probably we can assume that there is some issues, right, in terms of the authority of your website versus the one that outranking you, right? And also that might be some problems on a page level, right? Not enough referring domains, right, and so on. But what's going to happen is that you're going to close the gap on the quality side of your content, right? So, and in that way, that might kind of, it might work for some time, but that's not a sustainable strategy, right? And that is not really the best way to do link building, first of all, right? And today I want to share with you different red flags, right? Well, I decided to go with 5, right? The most prominent ones that will help you indicate, that will help you spot the pages that are not really worth being considered, right? Being nominated for link building. I have to say that all those kind of mistakes, I would say, they are constantly happening with our clients. And I would say that, the ones that I decided to go with, they are very, very common. Okay, so the first thing that when the structure of your content, right, not matching the top ranking pages, right, the ones that you see in Google search engine results. It's a quite common scenario, and actually it happened a lot of times with me as well. Whenever I think about some search term, right, just because I have some experience, right, I've been working in the digital market, I think, for more than 10 years, right? So I have quite an expertise in different fields. I can kind of, understand what kind of things, right, should be written on a particular page, but not necessarily that is the same information that users want to see. That is the trick, right? And whenever you start working with the pages, right, that are not really matching, right, the ones that Google and not only Google, right? That is a combination of Google preferences and user preference, because I kind of hope that Google, first of all, gives priority to those pages that basically are solving, right, are helping users to solve their problems, rather than just, kind of throwing some random pages over there just based on something else. So I think a huge role plays, a huge role in this process devoted to users, right? And so that is basically a graph, right, that shows the number of referring domains back to a page that was actually not matching the current search engine results. So it has a completely different structure. And we started working with this page, even though actually we told our clients straight away that we don't really think that it's beneficial for them to do that. And we have acquired actually a solid number of very good links from very good sites, mostly services cloud solutions, right, SaaS businesses. So almost 40 links, right? And the problem there was, right, that the page was just kind of an explanation of page, right, talking about the importance of advanced management and so on, while the current results, if you take a look at them, right, we see that users, right, and Google wants to see listicle posts. And now, circling back to the page we've been working with, right? Here is the performance of this page. We started building links somewhere, well, around February, right? Maybe a little bit earlier, right? I would say January, February. As you can see, we've been able to reach some decent progress in terms of impressions. But if we think about the current competition, right, and if you look actually circling back to search engine results, it's quite competitive. I would say it's a quite competitive SERP, but not extremely competitive, right? So if you look, right, the pages kind of, they having quite a decent number of referring domains, but on a general note, our expectations and based on our clients' domain authority, we were expecting way better results, I would say, right? And that is the problem, that it's very hard, right, to rank, and basically it's nearly impossible in some situations, as you can see in this one, right, to persuade Google to take your page, even though you are going to build a good portion of quality links and so on. So it's way easier, right, to change the structure of your page, to rewrite your page to match search engine results. And also this will actually result, right, in minimizing in basically in the number of links, right, that you need to acquire. So you need to acquire less links, right, fewer links. So that is the third thing, right? Another thing that is happening quite oftenly with our clients is targeting the wrong search term. It might be a search term that they found, right? And they think that that is a great search term. For instance, this one, right? We kind of actually uncovered this before we started building links to their page, just because I don't really think it will be actually, it will lead to something meaningful, because, you know, if you look at, because the search term looks good, right? It has some search volume, low difficulty, right? If you wonder what kind of tool I'm using here, it's SEMrush. Before it was Ahrefs. So, but if you look, right, and that is a screenshot from Ahrefs, if you look, right, at search engine results, even though the search term looks very generic, right, automated financial system, which should be something related to the finance, might be a generic search term, right? In reality, it's a brand name. So, you know, our clients, they wrote a content piece that is talking about automating financial systems, right? While in reality, it's a brand name. And I don't really feel that from one side, right, users that are looking for this search term, they're really interested in learning about what is automated financial systems, something like that. Obviously, right, the search intent is around the brand name. And also, it's very hard actually to outrank the brand name, right? And I think in this situation, there is no necessity of doing that, because there is no business value behind it. For sure, that is an extreme example, right? There might be more kind of smaller things. For instance, one of our clients, they've been targeting, instead of LinkedIn automation, LinkedIn marketing automation, which was also not the best case scenario, just because while we compare the search engine results, right, and we found that for them will be way more relevant to target LinkedIn automation rather than LinkedIn marketing automation. And we actually updated their title tag and so on, and it actually helped, right, start ranking better and getting more, right, kind of start capturing better users. So you have to be careful here, right, whenever you choose the keyword. And one more time, checking the search engine results. The other thing, right, that I wanna mention here is the wrong type of page. What does it mean here, right? You have to look at what kind of pages, right, in terms of their nature, are currently ranking in search engine results. And if Google gives more priority to content pages, right, then it might be very, very hard to outrank, and maybe even nearly impossible, right, to outrank the current competition, and to end up ranking at the top 3 results, something like that. When it comes to this concrete keyword, I'll explain the situation. So our clients, so they wanted basically to rank by the search term LinkedIn automation tools, but to appear not via a listicle post, right? To take their main page, right? You can see, by the way, here it's basically, right, the main page, right, is appearing here. And even though, right, technically it's kind of, there is a possibility, right, that they can also appear somewhere around, because, you know, we are talking about the main page, it has a lot of authority. But I think at the end of the day, it's not really a sustainable strategy, because users are looking for what they're looking. Whenever I add not a single, right, LinkedIn automation tool, I kind of put LinkedIn automation tools, right? What I want to find is a list of different tools rather than end up on the main page, right, of a particular tool, which means the user's intent is not really matching, you know, our clients' needs, right? What they wanna, right? What they wanna actually get out of this. And as a result, right, there might be some other situations, which is kind of, this one is quite basic one, but still, right, you have to be very careful in terms of choosing the right page. There might be situations when you want to rank via a particular landing page, let's imagine, right? But whenever you look at the top 10 results, you see only content pages. What does it mean? That even, right, and we've been seeing that quite a lot, that okay, our clients, they've been able to reach some I would say tangible results, some really good results by actually boosting landing pages with links, but they weren't really or they were kind of, it was kind of happening for some period of time. For instance, till the new Google Core update, because you know, right now a lot of search engine results, they were reconsidered by Google, changed you know, the order of websites that are appearing in a good portion of SERPs. They were actually, you know, now we see a completely different, right, website. There are completely different pages, and that is the biggest risk, right? So you can reach some tangible result till certain point. And that is very problematic, right? Unless you're also a very well-known brand, because for some well-known brands, it works very well because they have a lot of also domain authority, right? That actually helps them still, right, stay at search engine results for quite long time, just because of their overall authority, right, in the niche. There is one more example, right, about mobile app development. As you can see here, right, that the page, that it's kind of a, I would say it's a mixture of content, right, and commercial pages, and that's where exactly you have an opportunity, right, to appear as to appear with your commercial page, with your landing page, just because whenever you see such results, then it means that you know, you kind of, you know, you have some, I would say, some opportunities. But this one, I think, to be honest, I just look at it one more time, it's more about actually content pages, I think, because there might be, whenever you kind of add services, right, over there, let's say mobile app development services, that will be a completely different scenario. But this one, it's more like, for sure, I would say the first page of Amazon, because I just look at this one, the first one, I think it's a commercial one. But the thing that the rest of other pages, right, they are not really commercial at all. So I think in this scenario, it would make sense actually not to choose a commercial page, just because you're not going most probably to outrank Amazon, right? And that is exactly the situation when a commercial page of a very well-known brand that has a lot of authority actually can outrank, right, the rest of content pages, even though, right, users and Google wants to see content pages just because they want to learn more about mobile app development. Okay, one more thing, right? it's not right. Basically, it's a very common scenario when our clients they want to actually improve, right, the visibility of some of their pages. They got a serious decline in organic traffic, as you can see here. But in the majority of cases, it doesn't work very well. Whenever you get a serious decline in organic traffic, that is actually a signal that, especially not only on the level of, not only on the number of organic visitors that you receive, but mostly on the overall visibility, right? As you can see here, right? So we have a significant drop in impressions in particular. And that is a sign actually that the page should be rewritten, right? Rather than actually you need to do any link building activities. Normally, what we recommend to our clients is basically to firstly rewrite the page, then wait whether they are going to see any changes in impressions, and if yes, if they were quite successful with rewriting this page, then yes, it makes sense to actually build links back to this page, but not at this point, right? At this point, it's just that. Okay. Another thing that might be quite a red flag as well, your page doesn't have a stable trend, right? So it's kind of, appearing, but it's kind of still, the trend is quite shaky, and you can't say that on a general note it's a positive one, right? For sure, each and every citation, right, requires a solid, it requires a solid investigation, right, to better understand what's going on. But in the current situation, I would say I wouldn't recommend building any links back to this page unless the rewriting firstly happen, right? Just because most probably something is wrong on the content side rather than on the authority of this page and in the number of links that this page has as well. Okay, and finally, my favorite one. A lot of people, they want to rank for some particular search terms, but they don't really look at competition in search engine results. So, for instance, we have a client in the podcasting niche, right? So they represent a tool quite well known, and they came to us and told us, "Look, guys, we want to rank for the search term how to start a podcast, right?" But the problem here that, besides having, I would say, quite decent domains, right, with very decent domain authority like Shopify, Buzzsprout, and so on, right, we also see that each and every page has a decent number of referring domains, right? So, and even right, and we all know that not necessarily all those referring domains, they're actually meaningful ones, right? There are a lot of web spam and so on, but even if we assume that even at least 20-30% of those referring domains, they're actually pasting the link juice back to this page, right? Then that's quite a lot of links that we need to build. And also, if, right, for instance, our website, right, the one that we want to actually, see at the top 3 results, let's imagine, right, doesn't really have a domain rating that is nearly the same as the ones that we see, right, then we have to build way more links, right? Because right now Google prefers, first of all, if your brand is bigger and more authoritative, right? And we can actually assume that the domain rating is basically the right metric, right, to say that basically Shopify is a bigger brand than, I would say, what we have, than Smart Passive Income, right? Or something like that, or the podcast host, right? And in that scenario, right, we also need to actually close the gap on the domain level as well, right? If our authority not even close to 90, then it's basically we have to build way more links. There might be also, there is just one more example of very competitive search term, right? And you see everything by yourself, I would say, right? There is no need to explain anything here, just because domain ratings are extremely high here, and also the number of referring domains, well, it's just insane, right? And for sure, a bigger brand, they need less links. A smaller brand, they need way more links. And what's quite interesting here, right? Whenever you are a bigger brand and you choose the content page, right? You need to have way fewer links, right? And then like Canva, right? They basically, that is a landing page. And what they need way more links, even though, their domain rating, right? I would say, Canva and Buffer, they're quite the same in terms of their brand authority. So, but, basically, even though they have a bit better backlink profile, I would say. Okay, then I want to share with you, right? The last thing that I want to do is actually to explain to you, right? To show how to choose the most promising pages, right? And I kind of, I try to write down, right, the most important factors, right? The most important metrics that you can rely on. So the page is ranking quite well, right? So it's getting impressions and getting some clicks ideally, right? Also, the right pages will be the ones that you've recently actually either published and Google picked them up and starting actually giving some priority, or you've recently rewrote, or you've recently, recently rewritten pages, right? And they also started to show actually positive signals, right? Even though before they might not been actually getting enough impressions and clicks, right? And for sure, the one that don't really need hundreds of links to outrank the current competition in search engine results, just because otherwise it becomes very expensive. Okay, the right pages obviously equals to tangible results. A few real examples, right? So the page obviously had limited visibility, right? Before we started building links. Once we actually acquired, right, additional portion for this, and the search term actually LinkedIn automation, I've already mentioned this. So that is actually our real client, right? So it started actually getting way more clicks and impressions, which obviously indicates that links have been working quite well for them and have been bringing some tangible results. Another example, the page also had been getting some clicks. And so once, we started building links, we've been able actually to improve significantly, right? Their rankings, but even before that, right, the page, had been receiving a significant number of organic visitors, I would say, right? So, but with the help of links, and that is actually, I think, the main problem, right? That in the majority of cases, even if your content is really good, right? It's kind of well written, on point. If you have in search engine results, right, a website that just have that basically represent more authoritative brands, right, that have been present for a while on the web and so on, then it's just nearly impossible to outrank them just with the quality of kind of, just by rewriting your pages or making them more in-depth or something like that. So it's just the gap a bit on a different side of things, I would say, in the following way. Here is one more example, right? The page has been recently rewritten, right? And actually, it's a very interesting situation because we've been working with this page from the very beginning, right? So we started actually building links, in 2021, right? And the page was just newly published. And then we were basically, kind of doing our link building activities, right? Growing the number of referring domains. But then what happened? Google reconsidered search engine results. And also the page actually, since it was actually written in 2021, it was more or less no longer actually up to date, right? So the things that were written on this page most probably, were outdated, right? And this resulted actually in a very significant drop of organic traffic. And basically, what happened next? We reached out to the client and they were able to update the page quite fast while we were not really building any links, as you can see, right? During this, this serious decline of organic traffic, we actually put on hold our link building activities. And then once they rewrote the page, right, we actually circled back to it. So as you can see, it started to pick up, right, organic traffic somewhere, around most probably March. And that's exactly when we actually relaunched our link building activities. So, to sum this up, right, I think it's links are important, but if you choose the right pages, right, to which you want to build links, you're not going to get, you're not really going to see much value out of those links, right? So I think the trick is here, right? Not only to build links per se, but actually being, taking a very, I would say, strategic approach to link building and be careful in terms of what kind of pages you want to build links to, not only by judging those pages in terms of whether they're in depth enough or something like that, but also taking into consideration how Google evaluates pages, what kind of pages are ranking in search engine results, what kind of pages you actually need to outrank, whether, the search term is making sense, right? Always checking search engine results and basically drawing the right conclusions, right, based on this, rather than relying on your gut feeling. Okay, thank you very much. I think that is very much it from my side.
Awesome. That was amazing. Thank you so much, Alex. We've got questions in the chat, and I wrote down a whole list of things I wanted to follow up with you about as well. So please, folks, if you want to ask something, now is the time. Drop it in the chat, and I will queue it up. There's one I wanted to start with, Alex. There was the example you showed, the how to start a podcast example, and you had mentioned the like maybe 20 to 30% of those referring domains you would consider legit. Is that just an example, or is that a rule of thumb? Like,
it's kind of a rule, actually. It's just based on what, because whenever we need to calculate the link gap, right, we always export all the referring domains, right, and filter out the one that doesn't really have enough organic traffic. That is the first thing. And enough organic traffic, I would say, starting at least from 500. But I would say that might be even kind of not enough. I would say starting from 1,000 will be even, you will be on the safer side of things if you kind of, do this way. And then by domain ratings. So, starting from at least 30, right? That are the ones that I actually, kind of sending some link juice that can be considered as something meaningful, right? So the one that is kind of moving the SEO needle, I would say, right?
Yeah, got it. That's interesting. I found just anecdotally that if we earn a good link, that we will often find that say there's a blog post written and it mentions
Hmm.
Superpath, we will often find many versions of that exact same blog post all over the internet.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So the content is essentially duplicate. We get, sort of get credit for the links in the sense that they show up in Ahrefs, but I always sort of wondered, like, do those matter?
I
I guess probably not that much.
No, not really. I mean, like I had a very funny story once. So basically, it's not about to duplicate content, but that might, but I think it's real. And so once I wrote a guest post for kind of, I don't really remember for what kind of a website, but not really a spam around something like that. So I think that was also kind of, assess or something like that. But anyway, sometime later they decided to delete this post, right? But just because they had some kind of internal changes, they decided maybe to consolidate some page, whatever it is. They never reached out to me, which is horrible, but that is a completely different story, right?
Yeah.
But what happened next? Just because a lot of websites, right, the one that actually was using this content, they, one of those websites became actually an author, right, an owner of this content. So, it's quite interesting because basically this means that at some point you can get a lot of free, not so bad content just by kind of trying to find the pages, right? That, either in web archive or something like that, that were actually, but at some point deleted, right?
Yeah.
And then basically you can reuse them as well, which is quite interesting. But yeah, web spam might take different angles nowadays.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
that's so interesting. So interesting. You know, I'm almost a little hesitant to go down this rabbit hole, but someone posted very early on if you had thoughts on Google's recent updates, and what I assume that they're referring to is some of the AI stuff, which is, I think I saw that like as of
That is
yesterday. So like
horrible,
we
right?
don't know. Yeah, we don't really know like what will happen. Do you care to
Mm.
opine on where you think backlinks will be in 6 months or a year from now? Like, do you feel that they'll still be valuable?
Yeah, for sure. Because, think of this in the following way. Backlinks are kind of recommendations, right? So, and, that is the only way to understand that, for Google also, that you are a trustworthy brand. Because if you get the right recommendations, right, and links are kind of basically, they serve this purpose. So they work in that way. And the more recommendations you have from, relevant and trustworthy websites, right, from meaningful websites, the more you are kind of, it kind of proves to Google, yeah, really, this is kind of, the website that belongs to super community that is actually, those guys, they know, I think, in content marketing and so on, they run webinars because, someone might mention about their webinar, they have their own podcast, they have their own Slack community, and so on and so forth, right? So I think links, they kind of the foundation of everything, but for sure not each and every link, right, will play a significant role because a lot of people and I still know that a lot of agencies as well, they try kind of they approach and build it in a completely different way compared to us. So they build links on some media outlets, on all those, I would say websites that look good on paper, but if you start dig deeper, right, and you start to think, oh, what kind of brand they represent? No brand. What kind of business model they have? Actually, the business model is just to generate traffic and sell links, right? That is their business model. And you start thinking, okay, but what is the future of those websites? No one knows, right? For instance, the recent Google Core update was actually about devaluing the pages that actually don't belong to decent brands. We saw a lot of changes and movement there. And what's quite interesting that even like, pages of brands, because we only work with, clients that actually they have a brand, they were also quite devalued just because bigger brands, right, they were actually prioritized upper them, sadly. And that is another story. For instance, what's quite interesting, I've recently found that Amazon, they started to publish digital marketing related content. They created their own
Oh,
guide.
interesting.
Yeah. And you know what? They're outranking. And the content is just such a crap. It's just, 300 words. It's like, what is digital marketing? And it really ranks at the top 10 results.
That's so frustrating.
Just because it's Amazon, right?
Yeah. That's so frustrating.
Yeah, that is absolutely, right? But one more time, if you have a very strong brand, right, you can easily outrank the competition just because your brand value is going to actually, it was always like that, but nowadays I think it's kind of Google puts maybe more effort, more focus on this, right? And you can outrank the other, more, the other pages that have better content, more in depth, and so on.
That's so interesting. Kind of as a follow up to that, Superpath, as an example, like we build links basically to 2 pages. One is our homepage because we'll get mentioned in like a blog post. It's like best marketing communities to join in 2023. And that's great. We're happy to have that. And then the other is our salary report, which has a lot of data. So people might cite it, average salaries.
It's a linkable asset actually, and that is very beneficial actually to build such pages. And we are always actually encouraging our clients to do so, just because such pages, they can actually help you build up your brand authority and build up your domain authority, just because you get those links organically and consistently, right? And that is actually the main problem, because you need to have an organic link flow.
Yes, totally. So will that help us over time rank for things like content strategy template, which is a page we have that we have not deliberately built links to, but it gets a small amount of search traffic. Like in theory, as the domain authority increases, it should be easier to rank other pages without building direct links.
Yeah, but the problem that I'm more than certain that brands like HubSpot, they're ranking for those. The problem here, right?
Sure.
That nowadays, even any informational related search query is kind of turning into a commercial one, just because the brands that are quite big, like HubSpot, and the rest of others, right, that have been on the market for ages, they're kind of, basically they've already tried all the search terms that are more or less close to their business. And they're all like, what's next? Okay, let's write about content marketing, even though we don't provide content marketing services, just because people that are looking for content marketing, they might consider still, our product.
Yeah.
So, what I mean, right?
Yeah.
That is the problem, right? But yeah, for sure, if, right, let's imagine that the search term that you want to target doesn't include those big brands, right? Then for sure, yes. For sure, right? It's always in the following way. Whether you see in search engine result big brands, no, you don't see. Whether you see quality content there, I mean, like in depth enough, having EAT, which is very important, right? All possible elements. If the answer is no, then that is your chance to actually to try to rank with very few or even near to 0 links, right?
Right. Got it. Okay, that's very helpful. A few questions from the chat I wanted to queue up for you. One person says, I have a question. I've seen some backlinks for our competitor that are quite spammy, but the competitor is still ranking well in search results. Our blog has good backlinks that are not ranking as well. What do you think? Is there anything they can do on that?
No, I mean, here's the thing, right? The first question, do you have the same domain authority as your competitor, right? That is the first thing. Do you have, if you look right at the most meaningful links, and you can go to Ahrefs, they have in the legacy section, right? The wrapper that allows you actually to filter, I can share most probably. Just let me open it. So, the best thing that actually Ahrefs has, in my opinion, they're all kind of somewhere in the legacy section or something like that, which is so frustrating. Okay, I just show a random example, right? We just need a domain here. And so if you go to the legacy section, right, here in backlinks, what you can take a look here. And if you use this column and filter out from the highest number to the lowest number, you will see the most, the most influential links. And if you have nearly the same situation, then that is just a matter of time, right? So Google, either it's going to happen in this core update or in the next core update, but they're going to actually devalue those pages, right? So yeah, that is actually a very, very helpful report.
Got it. Love it. I noticed that you've showed screenshots of Ahrefs and SEMrush. Do you have a preference? And are there any other tools that ClearScope is another? Any other tools that you really like that you would recommend to other people?
I think, I have a small remark. Ahrefs is not really good for organic traffic. I don't really use Ahrefs for organic traffic, so only for links. And I'm really looking forward when SEMrush they're going actually to further this part, because I think the database of Ahrefs is becoming quicker and weaker over days. Being honest, nothing personal. We're kind of paying quite a lot. We're enterprise level users for Ahrefs. We are buying API, but on a general note, whenever I open Ahrefs, and it's kind of it's happening less today, but it was quite an issue a few months ago. I just opening Ahrefs and it's just not working. It's just saying me that is an error. Sorry, honey. Can you please come back later? I was like, I can't come back. I have a discovery call in a few minutes. Please come back later. I was like, yeah, that was extremely frustrating, right? And I think when it comes to search traffic, organic keywords, SEMrush, they have, the best data, as for me. In terms of other tools, if you're looking for a link building tool, right, the one that you can use to send out email outreach pitches, then definitely Pitchbox. Well, I don't really know the better tool out there. So that is Pitchbox. We use it actually, and it's great. It has, all possible personalization kind of, fields. So you can set up your own personalization. You can use the basic ones. You can set up, workflows. You can decide also, in terms of how you want to actually manage your campaigns. Do you want to let people send then out straight away? Do you want to split the role? So one person will be only doing link prospecting, the other one will be doing personalization, and then you have a manager that will be actually allowing them to send emails and so on. And we have a very kind of not really super complex process, but we kind of using those roles, and it's quite beneficial. So what else? We also use Linkody, which is, I don't really like, being honest. I can't wait when we stop using it, but it's just a very basic tool to track, right, whether your links are alive or not, which is quite important actually when you build links. But we are almost there with our own crawler that will be actually crawling all links, just because Linkody is okay, but yeah, I think that is more or less from my side. Maybe something else, but the top ones, and for sure we use Monday, but that is not like for everything.
Sure. Super cool. Someone asked a good question that I had actually written a note down about as well. They said, when does it make sense to build links to home pages versus commercial pages? And I guess I would add to that, and content pages. Like, how do you prioritize which of those is most important?
It kind of, I would say, home pages are quite important when you're trying to grow your domain authority, right? So when you want to actually, your main goal is just to kind of, telling to Google, we are a brand, right? So people are mentioning our brand, because that will come with branded anchors, right? Because if you're going to build links not with the branded anchors, don't do that. That will be a complete disaster. So those links always should come with branded anchors, right? And
interesting.
actually,
So if we're going to
yeah,
build link to the Superpath homepage, it should be the anchor text should be Superpath, not
yeah, not
best
content marketing, because
community.
because a lot of people, for instance, what they do, right? So we have, for instance, a client that link helper, right? But they want to rank essentially, their main page. They want to actually appear in search engine results, and they rank quite well for LinkedIn automation. But that is not, how you're going actually to mention them, right? So whenever you build links, you need to think of how people are going to do, how editors are going to mention you, right? How they are going to do that. For sure, they are going to tell that is a link help. This tool is link
Yeah.
helper rather than it's whatever it is, right? And main page are there for branded anchors, definitely. As for commercial pages, it's tricky. I mean, for some, I would say whenever your commercial page is not strictly about lead generation, let's say you allow users to do their something. I mean, like it's kind of a part of your lead generation campaign is to give them something free on this page. That might work well. If it's just a commercial page, right, without any templates, without any free tools, just kind of, sign up here, I would say. It might work, but depends on the competition, right? So, you have to see what kind of, first of all, take your search term, take a look at search engine results. Do you see commercial pages? If you see commercial pages, what kind of commercial pages? What kind of brand ranking there then, right? Look at your budget, also think, okay, because 10 links, they're not going to change much there, most probably, right? Because link building, like content marketing, should kind of be a consistent effort, right? You have to build those links month over month, because think over that in the following way. If you want to build links to a particular page, and for sure, most probably you're not really getting any links organically, so you start building links, then stop, and it's kind of suspicious, right? Why people discontinued linking to your page if it was so good before that, right?
Right.
So that is the problem also. Not necessarily it works like that. For some, especially content pages, it might be not like that, but for commercial pages, in the majority of cases, it should be an ongoing activity.
Got it.
Just not only because of your page, but also because of the competition, combination factors.
Got it. That's very helpful. There's a question about reciprocal links. Do you bother with that? I mean, do you ever offer links in exchange for links back? Is that frowned upon? Does it work? Do you avoid it?
It works till certain points, and if you don't really do it on a scale, I would say, but we don't do that at all. Just because otherwise you don't really need the link building pages.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, you have to pay to those guys in order to build it, reciprocal links.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can, ask around, right? I think the main problem there, right, that links, they're appearing nearly at the same time, right? Because you kind of, you want to close the deal, right? You say, okay, I put your link and you put my link, just, nearly at the same time. Then Google crawlers comes to those pages and what's finding that those two links were appearing nearly at the same time. That is completely fine. But let's imagine you've built 50 links in this way.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, getting reciprocal links time to time as a part of your link building activities is completely fine. So let's imagine, right, to translate it into a real life. Jimmy invited me to his webinar, right? And tomorrow I'm going to actually to basically to recommend Jimmy's webinar to my friend. It's kind of happening nearly at the same time.
Yeah.
Or you met someone that you really kind of, you were at a conference, let's imagine. The presentation was great, and you kind of, then saw a friend that by some reason didn't really attend this presentation. You're going to tell, oh, that was a great presentation, right? I mean, and in this way, right, it's making sense, right? Because the experience happened, nearly at the same time, and that is the reason why you're exchanging, right? some things between you and someone else just because you had some positive experience, you know each other and so on. But it can't happen, always like that, right? So
Right.
this situation is more like, it's not really a rare one, but, one more time.
Yeah. That's very interesting. Very helpful too. We are about out of time. We'll be publishing the recording. Like I mentioned, we'll get that emailed out as soon as we can. Alex, thank you so much. Where can we
Thank you,
send people
Jimmy.
follow you and your work?
Okay, you can find me on LinkedIn, for instance. I'm quite active there, so just by my name. Or yes, right. So it's Alexandra Tachalova, right? Or you can actually find some of my content on our blog. It's thisisolympus.net/blog. So I publish regular content as well. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much for great questions. Really enjoyed this. Jimmy, thank you very much for having me. Actually, thank you very much, and I really enjoyed being here, guys. So thank you.
Awesome. We're so happy to have you. We'll send out links to your LinkedIn and the blog in our follow-up email too. Cool.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.